Hey everybody, welcome. It's the big 350 tonight. Who would have thought that our guest Dan Gallo would get to be a such a significant guest for us on a significant episode. 350 is a pretty big number, but I'm sure we've got plenty more of these in store for you over the next few years. As fate would have it, I'm going to be at Comic Art Con this Sunday in New Jersey, and just it wasn't intended to be this way. But Dan Gallo was with Joe Viteri starting that show many years ago, and he is our guest tonight. So let me bring Dan in, and we'll get this show going. Hey Dan, how are you?
I'm fine, Bill. How are you?
Can't complain, man. It's I'm going to Comic Art Con this Sunday, so all is well. I haven't been there in I think 15 years,
Wow.
so that tells you, this is a long overdue trip, and I'm looking forward to it.
Well, it'll be good to see you there again. So I obviously I go to every one. I like that it's close by. I don't have to get on a plane, but always look forward to it.
Well, yeah, you were one of the founders, so we might as well even. Well, I don't know. We can start there. We can start. Let's wait on that. Let's talk about you as an art collector first, because the funny thing is we've known each other for a long time. You've been on CAF for over 20 years, and we've really never talked at any length. And the thing is, I know you by your gallery. I know you like pretty I don't know, we call them top shelf A+ artworks. You like great examples from creators that that we were reading at the same time. So we're about the same age. So you seem to like have an affinity for certain storylines and Spider-Man and a few other things there. So I want to talk a little bit about you as a collector, and I'm going to throw the link in the CAF chat here so everybody can check out your gallery while we're going through this. And you have an ID number of 3,894. So that's pretty early. Anything under 5,000 means you were there in the first couple of years.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yep. So early days. You were saying that you were hoping you're going back down memory lane before the show.
Yeah.
So tell me how you got started, with art, and at least being that, what was before that led to collecting art, or were you always a collector?
No, I wasn't always a collector. I got my start in collecting in baseball cards.
Okay.
That's what I did from, like 8 years old all the way up to like 17 years old. I bought a few comics along the way, something I would see on the rack. I bought some Secret Wars. I even had a couple of subscriptions like Marvel Team Up and Spectacular. I just do it for a year. I'd get them in the little envelope that would come in the mail.
The
But I was
sleeve.
never really, what's
It
that?
was a miracle that those things didn't get beat up and destroyed, but
Yeah, or they would slide out. I never understood how
it was a
I thought the
miracle.
mailman would pull them out and read them, but I always got them.
Me
So,
too.
yeah, but it was mainly cards, and I discovered Spidey 300 off the rack, and that was like, I guess that was around 1988, and I was like, oh, this is some good stuff, and that's what really kind of like lit the fuse for me. And I got out of collecting baseball cards. I started selling them off when I was in high school into college. And then I just transitioned into comics. And because I like McFarlane, I stuck with him throughout his run on Amazing. I started buying those comics in quantity. I would take ads in the Comic Buyer's Guide when I was in college and buying all the hot books. So all the McFarlane Spideys, whatever was hot at the time, New Mutants 87s, Wolverine Limited 1s, Spidey versus Wolverine 1s. And I would set up at those Fred Greenberg shows, and I just put stacks of them on the table, and I would sell them. And that's where I got friendly with Brad Savage. I don't know if you know him.
I do know Brad. I thought I had never met him, but while I was looking through some old photographs from Comic Art Con, so I don't think we've talked, but I've met him, and he's one of the I don't know if you want to say like one of the earliest art.
He's a pioneer. That's what I would say.
Pioneer. That's a good word.
And he's supposed to be at the show on Sunday if he doesn't get lost. Even though he's been doing the show for a decade, he always gets lost. Don't ask me how, but he does. But otherwise, he should be there. He was at the time he was selling similar type of comics at the show, So he'd be like, come to the house. I said, all right, let me go to the house. I don't know how old I was, 18, 19. He's like, come here, I want to show you something. I'm like, what? He goes into the closet. He pulls out the complete book to X-Men #1, the original art. And he's flipping through it, like, look at this, first that, and look at that splash. And I'm like, being polite. I'm like, oh, Brad, that's nice. I said, well, Brad, where are the Hulk 340s? I mean, when are we going to do business? It really didn't interest me. I
Right.
remember seeing stacks of Silver Age art, complete books in those envelopes.
Mm-hmm.
When I tell you, like 3 feet high off the dressers, he just had it tacked to the walls. He had art everywhere. And he said, Dan, buy art. Just buy a piece. This is 1990 circa. And he's like, just buy a piece, put it aside. And I said, and I didn't do it. Best advice I never followed. But
well, you were only 19. What did you know, right?
Yeah, what did I know? What do I know now?
Comics was it. It was the 90s were just getting started.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't know how I learned of it, but Todd McFarlane had a store, or he was affiliated with a store in Washington State called the Spider's Web, and you can buy his originals. So I wrote him a letter saying, what do you got? And he sent me something back. Somebody sent me something back. It was like, those photocopy sheets, and it would say like Amazing Spider-Man 301, and then it would have, page 12, $50, page 14, $75. So he had that for every one of his amazing issues, whatever was, whatever he still has. So I'm flipping through the books trying to look at and I picked 2 pages. That one was like, I don't know, $75. The other one was like $90. I bought them. And, oh, those are really cool. So what did I do? Brought them to a show, sold them both, and never dawned on me like, hey, this is something I should pursue. I'm selling dollar books, literally. I was buying books for $1 and selling them for $2. And there was these art I paid, $75, and I was selling for $100. That was a lot of money back then, but it never really dawned on me to pursue it. And I never really thought about it again for a really long time. Which, now, getting back to those comics that I was selling at the show.
I ask you though, did you sell the art for a profit? That $75, $90 page that you bought.
The $90 page I sold for like $100 and a quarter, and I made like whatever, $25, $35 a page, and they were cool, but it just never was like, they're big. I go to the show, I can't carry them, I don't have supplies for them, and it just really didn't do it for me. But now I have all these comics, these quantities of the quote unquote hot books of the time. Mm-hmm. I would go to all the local stores, and at the time there was a store in every town. And I would show up with my little box of books, and the store owners would go through the boxes and would pull out, oh, I need this. I need a Spidey 300. That's where I met Tom Fish, because he was working. It was a comic book store, and he would sell baseball cards, his own stuff out of the store. And that's how I met him. And he used to be like, oh, Dan, we got to open up a store. And like, this guy's nuts. He was very high strung. You think he's high strung now, but you should have seen him back then. And eventually we just did it. We just opened up this store. I mean, I graduated college, a month later, had the store. Then I said, Tom, you got to meet this guy, Brad Savage. He's like a nut. So we go up to his house, and, and Brad, his house, he's got a lot of stuff. At least he did then. I haven't been there in a long time. And he did kind of the same. Guys, come here. I want to show you this. Pulls out 3 pages from X-Men 12. I don't remember the content, but they were $1,000 a piece. And again, this is 1992 now, 93, right around there. And he's like, guys, you should buy it. And we're like, same thing. We're just being polite, but we had no interest. I remember we're in the car and we're saying to like, who buys that crap? Like literally, like there's no guide. How do you figure out the prices? Brad he's making these things up. He's just pulling them out of his ear, which he did. But a lot of, that's, par for the course in his hobby. We were completely uninterested. And then, 97 came around. I was out of the store, and I was out of the hobby altogether. And I went to one of those church shows that they used to run in Manhattan. And I'm just killing time. It's probably circa 2000, 2001. And I just went through somebody's portfolio, and I ended up buying 5 pages. And I wasn't planning on doing any spending. I didn't go there to spend money. And I remember what they were. There was 2 Bagley Amazing Spider-Man pages. There was a Diodato Wonder Woman page. There was an Invaders page. And there was an Ed Bennis Artemis splash. And that was it. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. What did I do? I go home. I put one of the Amazings on eBay, and I sold it overnight. And I said, I'm going to pay attention to this now. That was too easy. And that's kind of how I got started. I showed Tom. I said, Tom, look at this stuff. Isn't this cool? He's like, yeah, that's cool. I don't know how, but I find the guy that's got the Amazing Spider-Man 322 cover. I don't know how I did. I'm not a detective, but I found him, and the guy wanted $10,000, and he was fairly local. Again, this is 2001, and 10,000 is a lot of money for
So
something like that.
you're actually looking for something for yourself, not something to resale, or
No,
yeah,
the 5 pages I bought, it wasn't like I'm going to buy these, I'm going to take them home and sell them. I just
yeah.
thought, oh, this is kind of cool, and I always had that gene in me as a collector, from cards to comics to, now I was looking at that, and I always liked McFarlane. He was always my guy. So when I found the 322 cover, I wasn't like, I'm going to go buy this so I can resell it the next day. The goal was just to acquire it at that point.
Sure.
And it was 10 grand. And I said, Tom, you want to go half on this? He's like, yeah, let's go half. Let's go get it. So we went out. The guy was somewhere in Long Island, bought the cover, and that was it. And then we were off to the races. And after that, we picked up Marvel Tales cover, the 227. That's one with Iceman. That was on eBay. Went for like $5 grand. Can you believe that? And
No.
And then the third one we got was the Spidey 300 cover. Mike Berkey had that. It was $16,000. And that was a gown. I think that was around 2002. We went to San Diego first time we were ever there, and we picked it up. And, we picked up, by the time we were done, we had about 8 of them and other things. But the McFarlanes were the things that we were just really aggressive on. And then at that time, Tom was moving to Virginia. I was moving to Florida. So we decided to split everything up. Like, we had 2 Ditkos. We each got one. We both had the 252 splashes. I know he talked about this in his interview.
Yeah.
I took the title. He took the end splash. I got the better of that deal. And then we had the 8 McFarlane covers. We split 4 and 4. And then when the deal was all wrapped up, he makes me an offer and he buys the 4 amazing covers for me. So he ends up with all 8 of them. And that was probably like the worst deal I've ever done in my life. So
You're helping out a friend though there, Dan.
I was trying to help myself. I wasn't trying to help him. But yeah, because I had the 300, I had the 299, I had the Marvel Tales, and I had the 319. Those were the 4 that were mine in the split. And yeah, I mean, even money aside, I mean, I really do like the McFarlane. And I'm like, I don't like much. Some collectors, you look at their galleries, they have thousands of pages, and they love everything. I love it. I'm not that guy. I don't like a lot of stuff, but I like the McFarlane stuff. So I miss not having those, or at least one of them that I held on to. It's amazing that I held on to the 252 splash, because I've just sold everything that's ever come into my hands over the years, but that made it for some reason. So I would say over the last 15 years now, I've been a full-time comic book dealer, and I dabble in art. I'll buy something to flip. I do, and anything I want to sell, I'll put in my calf in the for sale gallery with a price. Everything else is more like, it's more or less a keeper piece until it's not, offer only stuff. I do comic art live. I'll throw a couple things up there. I do New York Comic Con. I'll put some art across the top row. But those are things that I like. And of course, some more than others. Some, it's a totem pole. The things at the bottom, they come off the bottom. Those are the ones will be next. But when they are, I'll just move them into my for sale gallery. And that's basically my history from the beginning till starting buying all that stuff that I have in my gallery now.
So we can almost blame you for Tom Fish being a art collector in this market today, huh?
Yeah, well, yeah. And
Or he might have just stayed focused on sports cards.
And you could thank me if he bought from you. So
that is true too. Yeah, I mean, it's I know that I've heard a lot of Tom Fish stories over the years. He's gotten a lot of good stuff. He usually pays a pretty penny for some of that stuff, but at the end of the day, yeah, he's amassed an incredible collection.
Yeah, and that's the misconception. When people see all the stuff that he has, they think that he just woke up and it was on his front door. He pays for that stuff.
Oh no,
you don't acquire that stuff. Because people are being nice.
Oh, well, people don't let go of the good stuff. I mean, come on. First Mary Jane. You think Mike Berkey let that go at the time for?
I was with him when he saw that page for the first time. We were both at Mike's house, and I think Mike had it sitting on his coffee table. It was just like sitting there, and I'm
probably
like,
not in a bag.
I don't know if he took it home that day or he talked about it, but I remember saying, if he was on the fence, I was like, you have to buy. Easy for me to say. I said, you gotta get that piece. It's a lot of money. I said, you got to figure it out.
Oh yeah, no. So he was always paying over market, because that's the thing. When you have tastes that are at that level, if somebody has it, they're not going to let it go for, if I think it's 100,000, I'm not going to sell it for less than 120 or whatever. And at the end of the day, you got to get more for it to let something
stuff like
that
is they're like priceless pieces, and I always say that it's what it's worth in quotes. Like, we can agree it's worth X, but doesn't mean the seller's going to let it go for X. Why would he do that? Because he likes it. So I say you got to pay what it's worth, and then the extra is like the VIG. You got to pay to pry it away from him. So if someone says, "Oh, you want that's too much," it's like, well, then it's not for you. If you don't agree with my number, it's not for you.
Right.
It's not about building a consensus.
I mean, hey, look, those McFarlane's, they're doing McFarlane pages in the Wednesday auctions now in Heritage. I mean, there's plenty to be had out there, right?
Well, though you see, those are I'm talking about more pieces that are sure, yes, but pieces that are more unique, like
Right.
uniquely, like
Oh, I know what
like
you're,
those
I know
monster
what you're talking
pieces.
about.
But
You can
because
just,
if you want to
I'm saying you
overprice
can
a
tell them.
McFarlane page, there was 8 of them in the last Heritage. You don't have to buy mine; you can buy someone else's. But when
Right.
it's something you have to have, it's like there's nothing that's going to take its place. It's singularly unique, like the first Mary Jane page, the first Wolverine page. That's it. There's nothing that's going to take its place. You're either going to pay or you're not going to have it.
Exactly. And that's why I admire Fish and his collection. But yeah, so you got him started down that road. I mean, any other collectors? I mean, outside of Fish, I mean, I assume you probably and the fact that you've done work with Joe and everything. Are there other people that you've helped kind of bring into the hobby over the years that you gave some good advice to? Because clearly you're in the comic market or the comic book market heavily. You're dealing with a lot of those guys, and it's for us as art collectors who do it strictly art these days. It's always fun when you're walking around a show and you see a dealer like comic books dealer like yourself that has like that top row, or there's just like a quarter of a row has some art in it, because we always look at it and say that guy doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know what he's got or why he's got it. And those are the guys that that some collectors always seek out when you go to a show like New York Comic Con or Heroes or something, because you're looking for those pieces that may have found their way to a book dealer.
True. I mean, I don't want to say I've converted, but I've gotten a lot of my comic book buyers, my regulars, into art. Some more than others. Some have gone nuts, and that would be like Paul Pappas.
Right.
I sold him his first piece. There he is.
You sold Paul Pappas his first piece of art?
I sold him his first 2 pieces. He was buying books from me. And I was like, Paul, I gave him the same advice I got from Brad Savage, except he listened. I didn't. And he bought, it was an Archie cover of all things. It was like a Stan Goldberg,
It wasn't a Spider-Man cover?
No, it was an Archie cover for $100. And another one was a Joe Sinnott head sketch. I think it was Thor or Reed Richards. I don't know which one came first. They might have come together, but those were the first 2. And after that, he was bitten. Now he's a machine.
Oh, we know. Yeah. we could feature a piece of Paul's collection every week on the Cap Update, because he's always posting one great cover after another. Or
you could have him on this show every week for 5 years and not get to the bottom of his barrel.
No. But the one thing we can't get him to do is play piano at OAX. One of these days, that might be kind of something we could do on the show floor.
Is there a piano on the floor?
We could find a way to get one.
I'll work on it.
Paul would play. I'd find a way to make that happen.
All right.
But all right. So Tom Fish and Paul Pappas, they're right there. Two noteworthy collectors that you were there at the beginning.
I was.
And it's funny, I mean, when you think about the beginning, I mean, it really is only the last 25 years. I mean, I didn't get started collecting original art until like 98, 99. But so many people came into art collecting around that era, and a lot of people attribute it to eBay and whatnot, as a means of discovery. Because not everybody had access to going to a show in New York where the artwork's a little more readily available than the VFW in Cleveland, Ohio, that I was going to for my comic shows back then, or the I can't even think of some of the other shows. But so you've helped turn on a few book collectors that buy from you to art as well.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm trying to read through the chat just so I don't miss anything. Paul Pappas says he would love to play piano at OAX. I didn't know.
There you go. There you go.
All right. Well, I think we're going to be lining up some evening entertainment. We're gonna work that out. Well, we always kept talking about a band. Mike Allred plays guitar. We have a few other people we know. We can do something. There can be some evening entertainment that is put on by the artists and collectors. We'll have to think about that.
Yeah, I'm glad the next show is in March, so hopefully we'll avoid any storms.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, we had a lot of people leave on well, Saturday night, or a lot of people leaving early Sunday to get out of there, and then many people who got stuck. So
Yeah, I was one of them.
sorry.
That
And
was your fault.
had I not been so tired, and had I known, I would have like gone back into town and hung out. I heard Jason D'Ambrosia was stuck there, or stuck somewhere in Florida until Thursday. A lot of, fair number of people. So we can't control the weather, but
No,
yeah.
it was fine. My dad lives in Fort Lauderdale, and I just Paul drove me like most of the way because he's in West Palm, and then I just hopped on a train and I spent a couple days with him. So I had a backup plan. So it was not a problem.
Well, that's good. So back to the art collecting.
Yeah,
You don't have a lot of pieces in your gallery, and clearly, I think what we've learned tonight is that you're very selective. I mean, and by selective, is it kind of like what I was saying at the beginning? Is it artists? Is it stories? Is it nostalgia driven? What order, kind of put something into your permanent, well, or semi-permanent collection today? When you're
yeah.
looking to buy stuff.
I guess maybe nostalgia. When I think of some of my favorite pieces, I can say I remember when, and that drives it. But sometimes just a cool piece, or sometimes just a hunch where I think that this segment is gonna explode, and let me get in now, and I'm gonna buy them, I'm gonna hold them. So there's a lot of variables that go into it. But you're right, I don't have a lot. I really don't like that much. That's why I'm impossible to trade with, because the odds of someone having something I want more than what I'm giving up is slim, because I know I
Mhm.
don't like much. I just don't want to make a deal just for the sake of it. So, yeah, it's not easy. I don't really buy that much. I think in a given year, maybe a half a dozen pieces. I'm lucky if I can add two or three. I don't want to say permanent, but pieces that are, I hope that I'm going to hold on to for a bit, as opposed to just flipping.
Right.
That's the goal, every year, just put away. Take the advice that Brad told me 25 years ago. Now I'm doing it now.
Have you ever talked to Brad and reminded him that, the advice he gave you that you didn't heed?
Yeah, we talk sometimes. I see him at the show when he doesn't get lost. And then every now and then I'll just give him a holler. He doesn't always pick up the phone. He'd be great on this show, but he's not. To say he's not tech savvy, I don't know if he can operate a toaster, let alone, I don't even know if he has a computer. I think he goes to the library. He's really old school. The only way you could get him is if someone else would physically go to his house, pick him up, or set it up for him. But he has no cat. But boy, he's got more stories than Mother Goose, because he's been around since day one. He's got all those early days when all that art came out, and he had a lot of it, and he knows a lot. He's really got a lot of stories. If anyone ever wrote the history of comic art, you'd have to talk to him.
Right.
Collecting, comic art collecting. He was there from the beginning.
Not many were. I mean, you put Pete Koch maybe in that kind of
Sure.
stratosphere.
Yep.
Yeah, there just wasn't many. George Lucas, I guess we could put him in there, because he was co-owner of Super Snipe, or whatever, that comic shop slash art gallery back in the day. So some people got it, but most people didn't.
Mm,
But that's what kept it affordable for a very long time.
that's right. Until people like Tom came in and just blew it all up for everybody.
Exactly. Well, now we know who to blame for that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Me.
Yes, exactly. All right. Well, why don't we talk a little bit about, because clearly, you definitely have a different bent than a lot of collectors in the hobby today, and kind of a little bit more of a seller kind of angle to the way you collect, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you think about it, most dealers that are out there today are collectors too, right? Mike Berkey is always going to be a collector first and a dealer second. At the end of the day, I mean, he's always trying to make a buck, but at the end of the day, he has what he has, and he has a lot of it.
Yeah.
So
It is.
you have, or even you could say the Donnellys too, right? They're collectors first, I'd say. They'd rather keep it than get rid of it. And so I think a lot of people kind of start out that way. You look at reps today too. I mean, come on, good. They were collectors, and then they decided that, to move into being reps. I mean, it's you kind of start from the point of wanting to collect, and so it's a little different there. But how did Comic Art Con come about? Because I'll tell you, to this day, Anthony always gives me crap, because about 2 years before the first Comic Card Con, he kept telling me, "Oh, Comic Card fans and me, should do a show, in New York." And I was like, barely knew Anthony back then. I was like, I can't do that. And then a couple of years later, you did it with Joe. And so, how long did it take you guys to figure that out, or did you think about it one day and then you found a place 30 days later to have it?
I was at the time, I don't remember when we started. It was 2008 maybe. And I was I was doing books at the time, or I was just getting into it, the swing of being a dealer and whatnot. And I had a couple of pages, and I set up at a small show, Clifton, New Jersey. I used to do it every month. I haven't done it in a few months, but and I had art, whatever I had. It wasn't much, but I set up with my little portfolio, and he showed up, and someone called him up and said, "Joe, this guy here with art." And Joe comes by, and he's looking, and we just got to talking, and we hit it off. And I said something like, "We need to do a show with just art. Forget these comics, just all art, and that's it." And he went, "That's a great idea. Let's do it." And Bill, that's how it happened. I think it was the first day I met him, and he went out there and he found the venue, and he booked it, and I started emailing the dealers and whatnot. And I mean, it was so long ago. The first ad we took was in Wizard magazine. we took a Wizard ad, and yeah, it was really small, and it was in this tiny room, and it was we didn't know if anyone was going to show up. And that's what I would tell people, like how many people do you think you're going to get? And I'm thinking, I had no idea. I said, but it doesn't matter if nobody shows, because you're there, and all the dealers are there, and you guys all do business with each other, and you're all under one roof. And at the time, I think we were charging it's like $70 a table. It was like, it's an afternoon. It's like lunch. You pay $70, you bring your stuff, you hang out, you have a good afternoon. And they all came, and it was good. And then we the first year we did 3, and then we backed it on down just to 2 a year. And the second time we went into a bigger room. And at one time we had a really big room. We were getting a lot because the tables were cheap. And so people were buying 3, 4, 5, 6 tables. They were really spreading out, and it was really nice. But then we got too many people wanted to do it. And then we spilled over into like a secondary room, which didn't work. Anyone who was in that room wasn't happy. So we backed it out. And that's basically the story. After a period of time, like everything else, I moved on. I got out. I said, "Joe, you do this. I don't want to do it anymore." And he continues to do it. And I much rather just be the attendee, go in there and have fun. I don't have to worry about anyone complaining about who their neighbor is.
Right, exactly. But they still might ask if you have any pull with Joe.
No, Dad.
At least the first few. Well, here, I got some photographs from 15 years ago. These are from March 2011.
Okay.
That I took. And this would have been the last time I went to the show. So let's see.
Boy, that's
that one's a little blurry. Out of all of them, I think this is the only blurry one. The rest are all good. But
that was I remember that room. That was in the Secaucus. And
Secaucus, that's right.
We had and we did the first show we did was across the hall. It was much smaller. That was the bigger room. It was tight. Boy, and the hotel was awful as far as I'd go in there in the morning, nothing would be set up. Nothing. The tables would have no tablecloths. The chairs would be on the wrong side of the table. I would have to spend the night there just to make sure I got up early the next day and set up the room myself. They were terrible, but it worked, and it was a good time. That's for sure. And I can remember certain pieces that I saw at that show. And that's Will said that's the second room. That was a second room. Like I said, the first room was across the hall. That was nice. And the third room in that hotel was even bigger. That was really, really nice. It was actually too big, but it gave us a lot of room. As I said, everyone was getting multiple tables.
Right.
But we were really tight. One time there was water on the floor. The whole rug was soaked. I tell you, there was no one there to help you. It was really bad. But like I said,
they had a fake fern in the room. I mean, that made it look nice in winter. I remember it was snowing this day, when I drove in this for this show.
Okay. But, we did one it was one always like in March, and one was like in September. Maybe this one was a little bit later. I don't know where you were coming from. Maybe you were coming from Alaska.
This was March. I was coming from Cleveland.
Okay, yeah. So I guess that's possible. I remember we had Gene Colan as a guest at one of these shows. One of the last shows I think he ever did. And that was really nice to have him here. And what I remember from Gene Colan, because I said, "Gene, can I get you anything?" He'd be like, "Yeah." I said, "Gene, what do you need?" He's like, "Can you get me a hot dog?" I said, "Gene, I'll get you a hot dog." I said, "I hope they have hot dogs at this show," because this hotel wasn't near anything else. But luckily they did. He wanted a hot dog with ketchup. That's what I remember about Gene Colan.
Yeah, Gene was the best. He was, you'd see him at a lot of shows back at that time with, like Dave Gutierrez was there, maybe doing some inks on some of his stuff for him. But yeah, and that is a blurry Mike Berkey, wheeling and dealing on the phone there, clearly. And I think that might be Comic Link next to him, right?
Yeah, it
So
looks like Doug's sitting next to
Doug,
him.
isn't that's a younger Doug. Yeah. Uh, let's see here. I got better pictures. Let's see. Okay, there. Berkey's back wall. No prices on anything. Well, no, you had to turn them around still. You always use that blue Sharpie.
Yeah, I wish he'd put him on the front, make it a little bit easier. You got to touch everything, you know.
Exactly. Yeah, everything had to be handled. It still has to be handled,
I know.
Mike. Oh, there's Ron right there. I recognize some faces in the background. Let's see. Well, there you go. Speaking of Will Gabrielle
There he is.
and Hans, and they're
I
back.
remember one show Hans had that one of those FF Art Adams covers. You know the one those
Oh
really
yeah.
really great ones. I think it was like 25,000 or so, and I was like, wow. And that's like that piece is probably worth 10 times that now.
Yeah, I don't think we can see any prices on Hans artwork. Oh no, he's got stickers. Okay, there you go. There's a nice Iron Man John Romita Jr. cover for $7,500. A Mike Mignola cover for $4,900. Hey, I mean, there's no Hellboy on it. I guess that's that's not so bad. Um, but let's see here. What do we got? I don't know whose wall is that. Probably an extension of I don't know. I guess nice Steve Rude painting on there. But either way, hey, the one thing that hasn't changed, these wombats.
Yeah.
Whoever was making those back in the day. Oh, look at this, Bashara, svelte without a jacket on. That's not something you'll see too often these days. Oh, yeah, I think we all know that Kirby title page right there. Yeah. Well, let's see. I know I got a picture of you in here somewhere. Yeah, I forget who was that guy. I mean, I remember he was a rep of some kind. I think back in the day.
Yeah, we didn't go much with reps or well, not reps were fine, but with the talent, you know, we would have one guy every now and then. People say, oh, bring in this guy. It's like we wanted the focus and the money to go towards the dealers, not towards the artists. You know, guys come in, and I get it. It's a part of the hobby. People come in, they want to see their artists, want to get their commission, but we wanted everything to go for the guys.
Right. Yeah, I hear you, Mikhail. I'm gonna ask AI to sharpen up all these photographs after we're done here, so I can maybe zoom in on the image. So there you go. This is the back of Anthony, and it clearly looks like he's wearing pajama bottoms in this photo. So nothing has changed in 15 years.
Yeah, and if you want any more photos, I've probably got 100 from all the different shows, and I would take a picture with the dealer in front of their wall. So some
No,
really,
I want
really
them.
good stuff.
You got them? Honestly,
Yeah,
send them
I got
over.
'em.
That would be a lot of fun.
Yep, I got a lot.
Let's see. Oh, here we
There's
go.
Brad. There
Brad.
he is, the legend.
There is Brad. Yeah.
That's my wall though. He's sitting in
This is
front of
your
my
wall?
wall.
So he's sitting behind your table? He's
Wait a
manning.
minute. That's yeah. I mean, well, the top row is mine. The second row is mine. I must have split space with someone. Yeah, because that's a lot of Brad's stuff. Yeah, that bottom stuff here is the witch's tails, and that piece in the white frame there is his.
Mhm.
The bottom row is his. That top two rows are mine. That was my Batgirl commission. I remember that. The whole top row is that's all I had. The top row is mine. The top five is mine, and then there was a Gen 13 page. That was a Bagley cover, and that was a Batgirl commission. I don't remember, but those eight are mine. The rest aren't mine.
Got it. Yeah, unfortunately we can't. I should have like videotaped some of this and flipped through some the stacks of art. That would have been a smart move. More of Anthony's back wall. Back when he was repping Assad, clearly. I see a lot of Assad paintings there. A lot of covers. With that, who's back? Hey, Will Gabrielle. This looks like almost like an Albert Moy back wall. I could be wrong, but Will probably knows based on the pieces that are there. Or do you know, Dan?
I don't. You said it from 2011. I have to go to my 2011 photos and see if I took a picture of a vendor standing in front of his wall.
that's Scott Eater, that's for sure.
Hmm.
He always has the plastic.
Well, that might have been him in the last one too, right?
You're right. It could have been.
He did a couple of those early shows.
That's probably Jim Warden. If I had to guess, there's a LaRocca piece and some Byrne. Here we got prices we can read on there.
Yeah.
What is that? $750 for a nice 11 by 17 John Byrne thing piece. Yeah, not too bad. All right. Let's see. Oh, another shot of Anthony's wall. Oh, there we go. Look, when Anthony had hair.
Mm. See, I'm holding an old camera. I'd walk around with this little camera. Before I had a normal one like we all have now. I would take those pictures.
Yeah, and Rich Danny's, that did look like a Wolverton on Eater's table.
Mm.
What was the last one? Oh, there you go. Look at that. That is the last one. Anthony and Mike before their first duel. And what's Mike holding? He's got a Curbier's Hulk. Is that 4? Might be 4.
Yep, looks like it.
Wow. Yep. A lot of arts passed through both those guys' hands. That's for sure. All right. Well, enough of these. But the good news is, Dan, is you have a ton of photographs from the early days of Comic Card Con. I would love to have copies of those for posterity.
I'll send you everything I have.
All right, there you go. Even Will says, Dan always made sure to take pics.
Yeah, not everybody was willing. They'd be like, okay, Will was cool, but not everyone. Sometimes it's like, guys, I'm doing this for you. I'm not doing it for me. I want to take your picture with the stuff. I put it on my calf. I used to have a gallery. I would have the date of the show, and I would always have like the last 5 shows,
Oh, that's right. I forgot. You're right. I totally forgot you used to do that. No,
I probably still have those files. I just got to make them active, and they'll all be on the page. I got to see. I got to check it out.
Or hey, I'll give you a Google Drive or something. You let me know how you want to send me those files. I would love to have them and figure out how we could put together something that I mean, it's the history of the hobby at the end of the day. You guys were the first to get a show together like this. So why don't we look at some of the pieces in your collection, the ones that are because you're still buying. And I think I think the first piece we have in here was one from was something that you recently acquired, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, let's see.
Let's swing over to that screen here.
Oh yeah. Like I said earlier, I don't like much stuff. That I like. I just got that in the last Heritage, and I admired this page from afar on someone else's calf for a very, very long time. And, he never wanted to sell. And then one day he wanted to sell, and his asking price, I couldn't make it happen at the time. And then it was gone, and it was off his calf. And I thought, well, wasn't meant to be. And then fast forward, it shows up in Heritage. I'm like, whoa, I said, there's that page. I said, but I'm not going to be able to pull this down. I said, my perception of where it was going to go was not a place I was ready to go. But so I'm sitting there during the auction with no intention of engaging, none. It's like the Super Bowl. I'm just watching the game, and I'm watching everybody play. And the piece comes up, and it's not moving. It's just sitting there at in the mid 30s. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. I said, I gotta, let me make my button active, and I did.
Be sure you're logged in and ready to go.
Yeah, I was logged in, but I had, disabled so I don't accidentally do something.
Yeah.
So, and I got outbid, and I was like, it's still cheap. And I hit it again, and it held. And I'm just waiting, it's like, in those final seconds, you're saying, please hold, and you're waiting for just a ping, and it goes back, and, someone else outbids you, but it didn't. It held, and I got it, and I was like, wow, that was good. I was really, really happy with that page, because I've been a McFarlane guy forever. I had so many good ones, and now prior to this, I only had one. And I break McFarlane down into 3 groups for his Spider-Man work. The first half is amazing, the second half amazing, and his work on the second title. And I like the middle group. I like the second half of amazing. Not to say there aren't good pages on the others, but this is my preference. This is what I think. When I look at this, I see the style. Some of his earlier work, I don't see it. this I do, and nothing like a great panel. That upper panel with Spidey is just, it's almost like, the Spidey one cover, and a great
Incredible.
image of Mary Jane. It's a 4-panel page. I'm thrilled, and I haven't been this jazzed over a piece of art in a really long time. And I think the reason why, Heritage had 8 McFarlane Spider-Mans in that auction. I mean, that's a lot. Now, one was a splash, and then they had a second one in the Platinum session. But in the main session, they had 6 consecutive pages in a row. And they all went a little light, given that. I mean, if this was the only one in the auction, it would have went for a lot more. And that's true of all of them. If there was, if there was only 1 or 2 outside of the splash, if there was only 1 or 2, they would have went for more. But there was, you get 6 of them, it's like that in a row. I mean, they're gonna take a hit, and they did. So lucky me, not good news for the consigners.
Right. Well, that is what happens. I mean, with Heritage, they've had, I guess, an embarrassment of riches, right? Lots of great stuff has come to market since the pandemic, and they've added 1 or maybe 2 signature auctions to their annual, schedule, and and still they have 900 plus lots, or 700 plus lots every time. It's difficult to.
But the same thing, that was a lot, and they even had one the Wednesday prior, which was good, and it got a really good number. It was the only one, so I thought they would put at least one in the weekend session. They didn't do that. I thought they'd have rolled one into the following Wednesday. They just went 6 straight, and they all underperformed.
That's what happens. I mean, there was one in the last Wednesday's auction that went for just over 30, and I think they've had a couple of them. Yeah, the McFarlane Spideys are hitting the market. It's not quite like when I'm trying to remember what was the series that Gary Land bought a bunch of stuff on, and then released them. Gosh, I can't remember what that was. But anyways, bottom line is you got a good deal on this, and that's all that matters. There was a question from Steve Mussolino. He wanted to know, was it less than what the cap owner was asking?
Yeah, it was a lot. And I don't know what his deal was with Heritage, but he can't be happy. I know he's not happy, because I reached out to him because I didn't think he consigned it. I thought he had moved it, but he said he didn't move it. He said he had it, or at least that's how I remember it. And I didn't get into numbers with him, but he's not happy. I mean, how can you be happy? You hold on to something for a long time, you do everything right, you buy the right piece, and then you go to auction, you get hammered. I mean, that's the game we play. We live and die by the sword. You win some, you lose some, but it doesn't make it any less painful. It's painful when you don't get what you hope. So
right.
That's why I don't do it, because I don't have the stones to put in my stuff that I have high expectations for. And I'll just sit. I feel like time is on my side, and I still, like I said, I think it's really important, especially for people with my mentality, to really, really, really like what you have. Because if I don't really, really like it, I'm more apt to move it quickly. And that's when I can get hammered. It's very easy for me to say no. I've already had people ask me for this page. It's no. But if I didn't like it and I was like, oh, yeah, well, what do you want for, then all of a sudden I leave myself open to, okay, let me just dump this in an auction. And the next thing you know, I'm getting a haircut. So I want to like something enough that I can say no. Even though, if I'm being honest, there's a number for everything. I mean, if we're all being honest, there's a number. I always say it's like a scale. The art is down here, right? And the more you put on the money side, the scale begins to get even. And then once you start getting like this, you got to take it.
Yeah, there has to be a point where you just must let go of the art. But
because I always say, Bill, the fun, at least for me, and I know I'm speaking generally, the fun is buying. Like acquiring a new piece and also selling and realizing a gain on that piece. That's the hold part is the slow and boring part. Even though we can look at the art and admire the art, the thrill, the action of buying and selling, that's to me, that's the fun.
See, I don't have. I haven't sold anything in a long time, but it was always agonizing for me when that happened. But the thing I was trying to think of was like when all those Crisis on Infinite Earth pages hit the market, like 16, 17 years ago. Remember how that hurt? They were so hard to get, right? And they were always going back in the early 2000s. You couldn't get a page for like less than $1,500, and then all of a sudden there was like 50 pages out there all at once, and you couldn't get $500 for them for like the longest time.
Yeah, that's why it's important that you like it, because if you like it, you care a little bit less about the ups and downs. But if you're buying it and there's more of a financial component to it, it makes you sick if it goes down, or at least if your perception is that it goes down. So really like your stuff.
Oh yeah, that is very true. And thank you, Carl, you bought me a cup of coffee at Comic Card Con this Sunday. Thank you very much for that $1.99. We appreciate it. All right, well let's look at the next piece here, because I did keep them in the order that you sent them to me. This page kicks all kind of butt because, well, for lots of great reasons. I mean, Infinity Gauntlet 4, that first the first half splash is freaking awesome, and then you get Thor coming in there for a hopeful kill shot. What more can you ask for from Infinity Gauntlet and Perez?
Yeah, well, it's Ron Lim.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's Ron Lim. Son of a gun, I'm a dummy.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So listen, when I bought it, I didn't even know. I just know I like the
Oh my
page.
gosh,
I had to
yeah.
ask my buddy Drew, who's an authority on this stuff. I'm like, Drew, who did this? I mean, I could have Googled it, but I had Drew. I don't have to Google. He
Is
says,
Drew your professor of comics
when it
and
comes to
history?
Thanos related stuff and cosmic
Well,
stuff,
is that Drew in the chat?
he
Best
might
piece
be.
in your collection?
I can't see the chat on my side, Bill, so I don't see who's there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought if you hit the comments tab, you'll see all the
Got it.
things.
Wow, look at all these people. The guys got nothing
Yeah,
to
what
do
are they
tonight.
doing out? This late at night, hanging out. We got 66 people watching us right now, Dan.
How
Don't
many?
get nervous.
How many?
66 right now.
Wow. All right. That's respectable.
Yeah.
That's Drew. Yeah, he's
And
he had
Drew
a
knew this
lot of
was
this
in.
stuff. He was ahead of the curve. If you want to go back 10 years, he had a lot of this stuff. And I don't know what he's got now, but anyway, I asked him. Of course, I love the movies, and I needed a great example. And this had come up for auction. I think it was in Comic Link, and I just, at the time, my focus was really on the books, because that is my bread and butter. That's the money that keeps flipping and moving, and
Sure.
the art doesn't. I buy it and it hangs on the wall, and then the money's got out of play for the most part. So I didn't move on it at the time. And then Paul Pappas bought it, and I knew when he was going for it, I was screwed, because at that moment I couldn't get it. So fast forward a couple of years, and we talk. We have a really good relationship, and I was like, hey, you want to do anything with that page? And I threw a number at him, and he accepted, and now it's mine. Ha! But yeah, it checked the boxes because it has Thanos on it. It's got Spidey, Thor. We saw that scene with Spider-Man kicking Thanos in the head, in
Of course.
in Infinity War, and Thanos and the Thor is similar to what he did in Wakanda, when he did that when he hit him with the axe. So love the page, and yeah, that's I don't see that going anywhere anytime soon.
I don't blame you. How long have you had this one?
Not long, less than a year. Whatever
wow.
date it's on my calf, whatever date I got it and I threw it up.
Wow.
A couple months probably.
Dang. Drew says we met at Enrico Salvini's table at San Diego Comic-Con in 2003. Yeah, that was the year CAF launched. I think it was only about 4 or 5 months old when I went to that San Diego Comic-Con. I don't remember Drew. I remember meeting Enrico though. You can't forget meeting Enrico. The only man on the floor in a kilt. So, yeah, he was easy to remember.
Yeah, I got this in November actually. It hasn't even been that long.
Oh, Gallery 1. Okay, Drew. All right. I do remember you then. All right. Yeah, but no, this would be a keeper for me, though, Dan. I mean, because stuff like this is hard to replace, no matter how cool it is. I mean, you kind of hit a point when it's like, how do you get a better page, right, from that storyline? I mean, this is classic. It ties into the movie. It's just got everything you could possibly hope for from that storyline.
And that's what I was going for. Even though the Infinity Gauntlet reads different than the movies,
Yeah.
I don't need a page that's got things that didn't happen in the movie. I don't need all the cosmic guys just floating around out there in space. I wanted to see Spidey. I wanted to see Thor or Cap, or I wanted to see those guys and Thanos. And this gives it to me. So it's what I wanted.
Wow.
And I got Paul at the right time. Another time he would have said no, but he was in a good mood, and lucky for me.
Marcus says I should make an offer on this for me right now. Yeah, we're not going to do that, Marcus, but thanks for the thought there. Let's see here. Where are we going to after this one? Yeah. Contest of Champions. This is
Yes.
this is for people who love Secret Wars. There's a subset of people who like Contest of Champions even more, right?
I look at it as the precursor,
Yeah,
and
of
it
course.
was one of the few books I referenced earlier that I bought off the rack when I was collecting cards, and I didn't buy the number 1 issue. I saw the
Hmm.
number 2 was on the rack, and I bought the number 2. I bought the number 3. I don't know if I ever even got to number 1. And the only thing I remember from reading that back in the day was that Daredevil fought Iron Fist in the snow. That's all I remember. And I'm thinking to myself, when I said, wow, I've never seen Contest of Champion pages come up. And lo and behold, this page comes up and it just crystallized everything in my memory. And it was one of those things that I saw and I said, I got to have this. I don't know how high I would have went. I would have went higher, but I really wanted this page. So again, happy with that. And it's never been offered, and I don't bring it to shows, and just really, really like it.
No, it's really
And you
nice.
love battle pages, right? Everyone say, "Oh, I gotta
Of
have action."
course.
Well, there's action.
Between two Marvel characters, no less. I mean, you
That's
always had
right.
to read like Marvel 2-in-1 or Marvel Team Up to get something like this, and then having a whole book that kind of pitted the characters against one another. I mean, come on. But yeah, this is a great page, man. It really is. Looks clean.
Yeah,
Yeah,
love it. Very happy.
I, I'll tell you, the era when they were using rubber stamps for the book titles
Uh
is
huh.
it wasn't long, but every time you see one, you almost want to buy it because I just like that era of Marvel Comics, because especially the red, we get the red stamp, for like an FF issue or something like that. Those are cool, but yeah, this is awesome.
I wish you just don't see any of those pages come up. I mean, I bought this. I actually got this in a Comic Connect auction, and then like the next, and then, like I said, it was the first one I had seen like in forever. And then like the next auction had another one. I said, well, I got to go for that one too. I didn't highlight it here. I don't like it as much, but
Hmm.
I like the series and it was good enough. And I said, I'll make a play for it, and I got it.
Well, I am in your calf gallery, and that other page is equally pretty cool. I mean, they're atmospheric, both of them. It's like that that's a really good page too, and it has Daredevil in it.
Yeah.
So, oh, not too shabby. Not too many people can say they have a couple pages from that run.
Well, it's like there's only 3 issues, right? So you're looking at
Yeah.
66 pages. Not a lot out there.
Wow, that is a very nice one. All right, so what do we got? Deadpool by Joe Mad.
Yeah, yeah. Heritage had, I think, the complete books to 1 and 2, like a couple of years ago. I don't know how many years ago. How many years ago? Like in 2020, 2021.
Hmm.
And they broke them up over, I don't know, 3 or 4 auctions. They had a bunch of pages in there. And I said, let me get on the ground floor into some of these. And I bought 4 of them. This was my favorite. And I managed to hold on to 3. I didn't want to sell the other one, but the guy's like, you got, and I said, all right, fine, I'll give it to you. And I regret it, but I'm happy that I held on to the 3. And I equate it to like Punisher limited series or the Wolverine limited series, because when you think about characters that are like immensely top tier level 1 characters that didn't get their start in their own books. They started
Hmm.
in someone else's book, and then they did guest appearances, and then all of a sudden they got their own limited series, right? That's how Wolverine went, and that's how Punisher went, that's how Deadpool went. Those are probably the 3. That's how Venom went. Those are the probably those popular characters since in the last 50 years from Marvel. So I thought they're never going to be cheaper. Let me just get some, and I got them, and I'm glad I did.
Well, but yeah, a collector was able to talk you out by saying you have more than one. You
Yeah,
can like,
you know, I, you know, it's hard for me to say no sometimes if the number's there. So, like I said, I did have 4. I gave him what I considered the least of the 4, and he was just happy to have one. And yeah, you still gotta. I still gotta sell to fund the future purchases. So
of
something's
course.
got to go. Every now and then, I sell things I don't want, and no one knows that better than Paul, because he's gotten a lot of my really nice pieces. But sometimes I get them back. So I think there's a few in here that I've actually got back from him.
Well, we always say it pays to have friends in the hobby, and at least you know where stuff is, right? When you have
Yeah.
a lot of friends, and clearly, there's the opportunity to bring something back sometimes. But yeah, what was it? Steve was asking, was the page like you have 11 and 13 and like 28, from that issue? Was the other page like in between? Was it like page 12, or was it just a different?
Yeah, I honestly don't remember. I don't remember. This was my favorite though of the 4. I
Mm-hmm.
just love the upper panel.
Oh, heck yeah.
Hmm. I actually have that hanging. Got that hanging by my door.
Yeah. Do you have a lot of art framed?
I
Are you-
have 3, 6. I have 7 pieces at the hanging, and I pretty much keep them there. I don't really change them that much. Um, sometimes something will sell. It's rare that I take something off the wall to sell, but it happens. Um, Sometimes I just get tired. Like I had one piece hanging for like 10 years. We'll get to that one. I know it's on the list. And then I just wanted just something different.
Mhm. Well, hey, got to change it up. I know we're moving. You kind of group stuff by like, the way you have your cap. So this is a section of things that you consider grails.
Uh,
So we're going to take a look at what could possibly be in there. And I would, all right. So we start off with a very impressive Friends piece.
yeah, that's my best piece. I've had it the longest in my collection. I've had it for over 20 years. And I know Tom told the story, and I mentioned it earlier. We had an opportunity. We actually, who we bought these from? He's watching.
No.
Will Gabriel. He
Oh,
he sold us. That was like in 2004. He had the title splash and the end splash, and Tom and I bought the pair. And I remember when we bought the pair, there was another dealer who I will not name, looked at us and said that we were stupid, we were crazy, rolled his eyes, and in a very demeaning way. We
uh,
always say, "Oh, it's crazy." I get it. That's part of our jargon. But this was like he was being like a real, what. And we still talk about it to that day. Remember when that guy said that when we bought those pages? So, yeah. And it's
that guy
inexplicable.
wishes he had bought those pages for that price, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
probably. I mean, yeah, of course, but it's inexplicable to the fact I still have it because
Mhm.
I things come in, they go out. But for whatever reason, offers came in. I just said no. And I think it goes back to my nostalgia to answer your earliest question. What drives me, or what is a big component of my collecting, is the nostalgia. When that book came out, it was a big deal. It was a really big deal when Spidey 252 came out. I think it was like around 1984. It was in all the papers. It was a Spider-Man changing his costume. That was before all the gimmicks. That was before everyone's had costume changes and everybody was dying and everyone was getting broken. But that was a big deal for Spider-Man to change his costume. And I wasn't into the comics at the time. And my grandmother, who was very supportive of my collecting, says, "Danny, you got to get this comic." And I'm like, Grandma, I don't want it. She says, "I'll buy it for you." I said, "Okay, let's go get it." And we went to the store, and the guy had it marked up. It was $5. It was a 60-cent cover. It was out for like a day, and I paid $5. But I had it in a bag and a board, and I had it leaning up against my bureau, and I looked at it for the year it was up there. And so I always remember. So I guess it's my favorite book, the 252. I guess part of that whole story. And then
Mhm.
one day I have the title splash, and I'm never getting the cover, and I'm like, well, that's. And another thing, what I like about this, it tells a story. And if you want to check boxes to what makes something desirable or great, of course, you have your talent, your artist, the content, the era. Is it part of a famous story? Is there action? This checks all those boxes, because if anybody who knows looks at this, and what do they say? Okay, they see it. That's Secret Wars. He's coming back through the portal. He's got the lizard under his arm.
Mhm.
It just tells a story. So when I look at it, I see all of that. And there's the black costume. It's a great front image. And the stats, they're all art. Those are all hand drawn. And that was, of course, the name of one of the movies. So yeah, I'm obviously very happy with it, and it's been with me a long time, and we'll see how much longer it will be with me.
There you go. Will says he won that at a live auction during a Philly Comic Fest in 1994.
And I guarantee you, when Tom and I walked away from Will, he probably did a dance, because we probably paid a lot of money for what it was at the time.
Right, right. Well,
He probably
hey.
said, "Those two dopes,
Well,
those
like you
two
said,
dopes." We still have both the pieces. Tom's got the other one. I've got this one.
well, he said it funded a different ASM purchase that he wanted to make. So it always goes,
We got
it's
to
all
move
cyclical,
things.
man.
You can't hold on to everything. So he didn't hold on to this one, but I did. And there's a million pieces that have gone through my hands. I didn't hold on to the Spidey 300 cover. Tom
Right.
did. So it's just, we all got stories of the stuff that went through our hands. Just some more than others. I've got more stories that went through my hands than I held on to. That's for sure. This is one of the few that I held on to.
All right. Well, let's check out. You have a, one thing stylistically with McFarlane, I love those four panel vertical layouts that he would do so often. Sometimes staggered like this, sometimes with different spacing between the panels. But this one, I mean, I love the page, but I love getting something that's kind of a trademark for an artist, their approach, like getting a cool Gene Colan page that's got all the panels scattered all over the place, right? You know a layout by Gene when you see it, just like when you see a 4-panel layout like this, you think McFarlane immediately.
Well, I love this page. I feel like I say it on everything you're saying, but yeah, I mean, great image of Spidey, and the panels are big. It's a 4-panel page. You got the World Trade Center in there. That's kind of cool. You got Silver Sable busting out of her top. That's always a plus. But here's the story for this page. Remember what I told you, the 2 McFarlane pages that I sold, that I bought from Todd, and I sold for like $100.
Yeah.
That's it. That's one of the 2. So I bought it for like, I don't remember, $75. I might have sold it for $100. I bought it back from Heritage in 2013 for like $4,000. And I didn't even realize it at the time. And then it hit me. I said, I was the original owner of this page. And that's it. That's the page. So it's
one of your first 2 purchases, and
this might be nailed to my coffin. It's not my most valuable page, but it's probably nearest and dearest. That might be the last piece I ever get rid of. And it's funny, but Bill, the other page was a page from Spidey 300. I had bought that back in like 2006, and I don't remember what I paid. I think I paid like $4,500, $5,000, whatever. But it came at a time in my life that I was really not doing well, and I just really couldn't afford to hold on to it. So I sold it to Tom, and I think it was like, I don't know. It was, it was good. What, like 5? I think I sold it for 7 or 8. I don't remember the exact number. And I've offered him 10 times that amount, and he tells me no. So another one that got away. But at least I know where it is. I feel like it's in the family.
Exactly. Yeah, Derek says you are your own provenance on this one, because you bought it first from McFarlane.
You know what I thought was cool? If every time they bought it, if we would have gone back in time, we'd all go back, and every time you buy a page, you sign your name on the back. And every owner could be listed. You can turn it over and see all the owners. I think that'd be really cool. Because some stuff doesn't trade hands that often. Sometimes it stays in collections for decades.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be really cool. I'm tempted to put my name on the back of every page, Bill. That's where I'm going with that.
In pencil or in pen?
Man, Sharpie. I want it to last forever.
All right, I'd recommend against the Sharpie, but something that can't be erased is probably a good thing. Because
no, I'm not going to do that.
I know.
I'd like to, but no, I'm not going to.
But I hear you though. The thing is, those first pieces are the ones that kind of hold the most, memorable moments for me, right? Especially on the published side. I bought a lot of commissions and sketches from artists before I bought my first published piece. I'll never sell that thing because it reminds me of what got me really interested in buying artwork, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think it's awesome that you managed to get this thing back in your collection. But all right, here we go. The splash, the title page to 397 by Bagley.
Yeah, that's a killer piece. I mean, usually I don't like to see the hero in peril or the hero getting beat up, but it's such an iconic Doc Ock splash, and I put him as one of the top 3 Spidey villains. It's just so well done. Actually, that's hanging also. I had at one time I probably had about maybe 6 Bagley Amazing Spider-Man covers. I was ahead of the curve on that one, except I didn't hold on to them. I held on to one, but all the other ones went. I think they all went to Paul, and when I sold my last cover, it hit me that I no longer had a nice Bagley piece, and I had always had one, and I had actually sold him this piece years and years before. I don't remember how many years before. And again, I guess I caught him at the right time, and I was like, you want to sell it back to me? And I think I offered him, he would know, but I'm saying maybe 4 or 5 times what I sold it to him for, and he took it, and now it's mine, and now he can't have it. Now it's hanging on my wall.
I mean,
he can come and visit it, though. He can see it whenever he wants, but I think I'm going to hold on to this one.
I don't blame you, man. It's gorgeous. The cityscape, is really well done, but the characters, the two characters together with the composition with the tentacles, I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, it should be a cover. It's just so well done. I love it.
Yep. No, I like it. I mean, it's nicer than a lot of the covers.
And Malstedt's ink work always is a plus. I mean, there's certain inkers out there whose work I've always appreciated. You go say Terry Austin's a great inker,
Yeah.
this and that.
Yeah. I think of
But
Bagley. I think of
Malstedt does
Malstad,
too.
and I think of Emberlin. Those were the two guys
Emberlin,
that
yeah,
jumped
oh
out.
hell yeah, Emberlin was. I mean, in the '90s, it was Emberlin inked some great storylines. Uh let's see. What do we got next here? So no, that's awesome. And again, here's a piece that you let go of and you managed to get it back. Way
Managed to
more
get it
important.
back. I think there might be another one in here. I'm not sure. Oh, there is one, I think, in here. Yeah.
See, but this is only 4 times, unlike that the McFarlane we were just looking at that was 40 times what you originally sold it for. $100 up to whatever.
Yeah.
It
Well,
happens.
yeah. I guess that's one way of looking at it.
It's just money. So what do we got here? We have a page from ASM 333.
Yep. Eric Larson. I mean, I would love to have a McFarlane Venom page. I haven't had the opportunity to get one of those. And this, even though I'm not a big Larson guy, a friend of mine had this page. I knew he had it, and I said, if you ever want to sell, and keep me in mind. And something came up that he wanted more. I don't know what it was, and we worked out a deal. And he brought it to me and came in my place, and it was going to make it easy for me. I'm more apt to buy something, so he made it easy for me, and I took it, and I'm happy with it. And like I said, I'm more of a McFarlane guy than Larson, but it was too good to pass up.
Oh, that's a great page. Oh, no, good. Yeah.
If my nephew is still up and watching this, he would definitely want this page. He's a huge Venom guy.
Oh yeah, this would be the one he would love to have you gift him one day.
No, he's not gonna. I'm not gonna gift him. He'd come and look at it.
That's right. He knows where to find it. All right. Oh well, this is kind of cool. So an FF27 interior page. It's page. Well, it says 18. No, yeah, is that right? 15. It's got 15 on there.
Yeah, story page 15. Kirby. Fish sold that to me. He had a few of them, and sometimes he gets offered stuff, and it's not, maybe something he looks like he's going to hold on to for a long time, and he'll sometimes offer me the stuff, and I took it. So I actually have 2 pages. I don't know if I think they might be consecutive. I put one in here, and it's not my era. I didn't grow up with this stuff, but I appreciate the history and the nostalgia. Plus, it checks all the boxes. You've got A+ talent in Kirby. You've got it's his, probably his core definitive title. You've got battles. You've got the heroes. You've got an arch nemesis. The panels, the action in the panels are big. Sometimes some of the early Kirby, there's a lot of background. This is like nothing. This is all like kind of fills up the panels. So I was like, oh, this is really cool. This was I happen to like the other one just slightly better. It's a 6-panel page, but I put this one in tonight because it's the 5. And yeah, it's cool. I do have a soft spot for the old stuff. I just don't have much of it.
Yeah, the other page is nice too. I mean, it's battle with Subby there too, but I'll throw the link in the chat for anybody who wants to check out the other page. No, not bad. I mean, I'd be happy with one page from the storyline, but you got 2. Some collector's gonna come up to you and say, "You got 2, Dan."
But it's funny. Brad wants the 6-panel page. Like, man, I don't want to buy that page. I'm like, you know where to find it.
I'll be sure to introduce myself to Brad. I mean, like I said, I don't think I ever talked to him, but what was that? Conrad. What was Conrad's last name? I always forget. Eschenberg. That's right. I mean, he was around for a long time and dealt a lot in the same kind of, I would assume, artwork that.
Sure, he had a lot of stuff.
Brad, yeah,
he had a lot, and him and Brad used to do a lot, in those days.
Eschenberg. Yeah, I actually think I built Eschenberg's site, one of his last ones he had.
Yeah, he used to do the show. He was there on day one, and he did them for as long as he could.
Hmm. Well, congrats on these. Everybody's got to have at least one Kirby in their collection. You've got at least two, right? Are these
That's
only
it.
two Kirby's?
That's
Okay.
that's it. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Jim Lee. This isn't too shabby. You know what Jim Lee covers, modern covers go for these
I
days? Dan?
sure do. I love it. It's like,
So this is
it's one way you can gauge the appreciation on some of your older stuff. You just see what he's getting on the stuff that he did 5 minutes ago.
right, right. I mean, this is the trade paperback cover to Wildcats X-Men, right? Holy smokes.
Yeah, Wildcats X-Men. I remember that came up in auction a few years ago, and Tom and I were discussing the auction, and he's like, what do you think? And I was like, I pointed to this piece. I said, if you can get this piece under, I don't remember whatever number I told, under 150 grand or whatever the number was. I said, if you can get it, because I don't swim in that into the pool. I said, if you can get it, I said, I think it's a steal. I said, claws out Wolverine is as good as you get. It's not an X-Men cover, but it's vintage. It was still talking, I don't know what it is, 20 plus years, 25, like 30 years. And it went cheap, by all, I said, holy cow. I said, I think, Tom lucked into this one. And then he says, I really don't like it. He says, you want it? And I said, all right, I'll take it. And, he tacked on a couple bucks and now it's mine. So I'm very happy that he didn't love it, because I do.
Wow. It's well, Tom can do that though. He can buy something he doesn't love and still make it work out. But no, I mean this is great. I mean it's a storyline that that I think a lot of fans always kind of refer to as one of their, if you love Wildcats and X-Men and Jim Lee, I mean stuff like this is just gold to get this. And this is inked by Williams too, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Perfect. Well, again, it's good to have friends in the hobby, Dan.
Yeah.
Oh man, no, that's a keeper, I would imagine.
It is, for now anyway.
Yeah. Now this is a straight up Wildcats cover to issue 13, another Lee Williams piece.
I've actually owned this piece twice. And
really?
Yeah, this I remember Tom had this piece, and we're going back at least a decade. And I almost bought it from him at the time, and instead I took something else. And then he put it in auction shortly thereafter, and it didn't do well. And I bought it. I was like, I got it for less than you offered to me for. And what did I do? I sold it 5 minutes later, and I made a couple bucks, and that was it. And then a couple years after that, I noticed a panel page went for a lot of money. Went for more than I sold the cover for, almost double what I sold the cover for. So I called up the guy who I'm friendly with. I'm like, I think you do all right with that Wildcats cover. And I told him what happened. He's like, you want it? You want it back? And I'm like, yeah. He said, I'm really not, it's not my thing. I'd rather put the money into something else. And I'm like, listen, as your friend, I'm telling you to keep this cover. But as a dealer, I'll see you tomorrow at 9. And I went and I picked it up, and I've had it. And now I've had it for about 5 years. And I like it. I like the image, the vintage image. I think it might need a little more time to cook, but it's almost ready. That era is just coming into focus. We saw what happened to all the 80s art, not too long ago. And listen, it's coming, we're going to see it with the Superman death. That's early 90s. And when you think about, all the top artists, that's image, whether it's Lee Wildcats or Liefeld Youngblood or
Silvestri.
And you get killer pieces. Tom and I had our stores at that time, and we sold the crap out of this stuff, and we didn't sell anything else. We didn't sell Marvel. We would sell or DC. We would sell 3 copies of Batman, but Spawn we would sell 30. That's what nobody wanted it. It's like they were just buying all this image. So that they're aging in. So this stuff it's gonna happen. You don't see a lot of it available for sale, because I think the people that have it are thinking the same way I am. Hold on to this stuff, because it's early yet to start moving it, unless you're factoring that in and you're building it in to your ask. But
well, the thing is, there's a lot of collectors in their, I don't know, early 40s and 40s now that this is their sweet spot, right? And
that's right.
They're all coming into, they've all got professional jobs at this point, and if they're collecting art, this is, the 90s are their sweet spot right now. So yeah, it'll only continue to mature, but yeah, I think the 90s are like the hottest, market, right, for the last couple of years for a lot of reasons.
And
But
that's what I think. Art collectors, our generation, we understand that. The older generation didn't, because when Tom and I were buying the McFarlane covers and we were paying 10 and 15 grand, which was record breaking prices at the time, the old timers would come up to us and be like, you idiots, how could you spend all that money on McFarlane when you could buy Ditko for less, or you could buy Kirby for less? Like, we didn't read those things. This is what we like. We're buying what we like. Leave us alone. And that's going to happen to this stuff. People in this generation, So it's coming.
When the show's over and we're in the green room, I get two guesses to figure out who said that to you back at Comic Card Con. I get two. Yeah, and and if I get one right, you have to tell me. But if I don't get either, if I'm not right, I don't want to know.
Okay. I don't think you'll get it, but it's all right.
All
Maybe
right.
you will. Listen, I'll tell you off screen. I don't want to say it on the show.
No, I know, but no, I mean, but that's the thing, at that point in time, that was really when the market started to change a lot. You had a lot of dealers who had been in the business for quite some time, and they were more used to, their high end, kind of collectors and trading amongst themselves, right? Things
Sure.
changed a lot with the internet and the early 2000s, and so it was definitely just a different time. I mean, they all have come around to this mindset by and large, but I don't think they were ready for the way the market was going to change like it did.
You know what really gave it the kick in the rear end was when, I think, when the Seamus collection came out in Heritage. That was around 2012, I'm going to guess. That's when all of a sudden people went, whoa. Now, listen, we were all surprised at those big numbers, but I wasn't that surprised because I was seeing a lot of that stuff. But those old timers that would have that mentality where whatever Kirby is worth, everything else is less. And those guys, were wrong.
Yeah. No, I know. It is what it is. When I started buying art, Kirby was kind of last on my list. I was trying to find more newer stuff or more 90s, late 80s stuff. But yeah, I mean, hey, well, let's look at some more art. What do we got next here? We have this is a Cyberforce page.
Yeah, that's the other page I bought back from Paul. Except that one, I think I gave him like 10 times what I sold it to him for. Just picked that up. It was just a killer image. Scott Williams did the inks on that. Yeah, I like it. I said I want it back, and like I said, I guess I caught him at a good. We have a good rapport, so it's not very hard, to deal with him, and we've done a lot of mutually beneficial transactions, and relatively they're painless. It's not like we gotta go back and forth forever with emails. I call them up, we can do a deal in 5 seconds.
Yeah, I just checked. You added this to your calf on January 1st, 2026.
I just got it. I did, one of the most recent pieces.
Wow. No,
he knows what I like. He knows what he owns that I like. So if he's angling for something else, he knows he can run something by me, and oftentimes we'll come to terms.
Paul says it was one of the earliest pieces that he got from you.
Yeah, you made a killing on it too, buddy.
Oh man, no, hey, I love Silvestri. So the Scott Williams inks on top of it are a huge plus, of course. But Silvestri, at the end of the day, I've always really, really enjoyed his work from this period. Yeah. There's certain artists where I could be like a one and done, and I don't have a lot I only have a couple Silvestri pages, but the thing is, I'd be happy to own a dozen pages by Silvestri.
Yeah.
Just always appreciated his style.
Yeah, I like, Williams did his inks. I also did a lot of his newer work when Joe Weems did his inks. I really like that look. I don't have, what's lacking for me, and that is there's no nostalgic hook for me. So I can like it, that's really cool, but it's kind of missing that. I have a little nostalgia because I remember putting the books out on the rack when I had the store, and I thought that was really, really cool.
Right. I think the 3 pages I have were inked by Dan Green, all of them. But
was that X-Men stuff?
X-Men related, yeah. A couple Wolverine pages and an Uncanny page. But yeah, no, the Williams inks on here really just, at a finish to this that mine don't have. But I still like Dan Green's inks on them. Let's see. I think are we still in the grails? I can't remember now if this is still in your grails section
I think
or
that's in the cover gallery. I mean, I
in
can
the.
move them around,
Okay.
but
Oh, that's right. Yeah, yeah. Daredevil 94 cover. Uh, I mean, I love this era of Marvel covers, where they did the box and had the logo above it. It was just always kind of cool, different, something they tried. But this is awesome. I love this image.
yeah, I don't have a lot of stuff from this era. I'm more of like a later 80s, 90s guy.
Hmm.
This was just an opportunity buy. Someone I have a good relationship with. I knew he had it, and I said, hey, you ever want to sell that cover? Let me know. And one day he needed the money for something else, and we came to terms, and I bought it because I see stuff like this come up at auction. I'm never going to engage on it because I'd rather save my bullets for stuff I like a little bit more. But again, if you make something easy for me, if I know you're going to bring it to my door or you're local, and I'm not getting clobbered, I'll find a way to put it together. And I like the content. Like if the content isn't there, I won't touch it. I don't care what the price is. I mean, unless it's literally nothing. But you got Daredevil and Black Widow. It was good enough for me, and I grabbed it.
Yeah, just like CJ said, it's great. It's Gil Kane greatness, and
Yeah.
it's awesome. Great composition. Black Widow, exactly like you'd like her posed while she's swinging through town.
Mhm.
It's awesome, man. Let's see here. What do we got next?
Oh, I got a good story on this one.
Okay.
I
So Art Adams too,
Yeah,
on
Ensign
top of
Kevich
everything else.
Inks. Ensign Kevich Inks. I like so many love the TV show Spider-Man and His
Hmm.
Amazing Friends. Loved it. And it was one of the few books that I actually pulled off the rack, or maybe I bought it later. It was issue 3. I didn't like the 1 and 2, and 4 was Windsor Smith. It was nice, but I didn't love it. This I loved, and it's just a great image. So, and I didn't even at the time, when I first laid eyes on it, another dealer had it, and I reached out to him, and this is, I'm going to say 2001, 2002. So we're talking 20 plus years. And I said, how much? And I got this long email back. Oh, it's X-Men related, blah, 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 blah. And he gave me a number. He said, I think it was 16 grand. And I'm thinking, 16 grand? At the time I was like, these, because I had an Adams cover and I think it was like 2 grand. And I'm thinking,
Right.
it's a little nicer. And we're guessing, but I'm saying, 4. But I like it. I'll go 5, maybe 6. It comes back like 16 or 17. I was like, I was born at night, but not last night. And I passed on it, and I was pissed because I really liked it. Fast forward, 2021, it comes up for auction, Comic Link. It goes for the same amount he guy offered it to me almost 20 years prior.
Right.
So there.
And that makes more sense. I mean,
Yeah,
you should have
he was
only
asking
been
a
like
20-year.
3.
He was 20 years ahead of it. We're all ahead of the curve. I don't make it sound like I'm giving this stuff away. I want what I
Right.
want,
No.
but I'm not 20 years ahead of the curve.
16 around, that time period was crazy. I
Yeah, you're
mean,
telling me this was at a time when we were getting a lot of slack for paying 10 and 15 for McFarlane covers,
right. Well, no, I mean, this is
And
it's
this is on the
beautiful.
wall. It's hanging, and if you like the character, there's only 2 pieces to own, I think. Well, I mean, listen, the 4 cover with Windsor Smith is certainly in the discussion. I just don't happen to love it. I like this, and I like Tom has the Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends #1, which I would have
Yeah.
really, really loved to own, but I just couldn't swing that.
Right. No, I
Because
remember
that is the cover.
that is the one you want to get. And
That's the one.
so you've
That
got the
would be
number
the one.
2.
Yeah, no, I'm happy with what I have. I'd be happier with that though.
Well, that we can all say the same about different things, but
Yeah.
no, this is beautiful,
Yeah,
absolutely
and
beautiful,
it's
and the
like I said,
Sienkiewicz inks really make it unique,
and
honestly.
that's on the wall.
Oh, man, all right, we only have 4 more pieces to look at, and I don't remember where we're going to from here. Let's see, what do we have next? Oh, okay, so we have a nice Tomb Raider cover. Wow.
Yeah. I always listen, I don't play the game. I've seen the movies, they're okay. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
like this big Lara Croft guy, but Andy Park did a nice job on the run, and I've owned a few covers in the past, and I had sold them. And I always said, I really want to get another one. And this came up for auction. I think it was in Comic Link. And, they're relatively speaking affordable. And I bought it, and I'm real happy. And that's hanging. Like I said, it's not my most valuable piece, but I like it. And it's hanging on the wall. And I kicked myself because the number one cover actually came up for auction, and I didn't move on it. I said, I got one. I don't need a bunch of these things. One scratches the itch. I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the auction passed, I was like, oh, why didn't I make a play on that? So it went, like I said, relatively affordable, but I'm happy. And that's right to my left. I'm looking at it right now.
Well, that's no, Andy Park did a lot of great work, during his run on a couple of those books. But yeah, this is nice. I love the dinosaur skeleton at the back.
Yeah, it's cool stuff.
Wow. Well, this next piece is a little different. Let's see. Chrissy Zulo, who was just at OAX.
Yes, she was.
This is fun. I mean,
yes.
The colors are beautiful on it. I mean, the composition's great. But it's different than all the rest, Dan. It's different than all the other things we've looked at so far.
Well, I misspoke. I have 8 pieces hanging on the wall because that's behind me. That's behind me. It's in a little frame. I bought a special frame just for that because it's a small piece. At the time, Albert was her rep, and I was at Comic Art Con, and I'm flipping through the books, and I saw it. And that's really cool, and it's fun, and it's colorful, and it's playful, and it wasn't a lot of money, and I bought it, and I was really happy with it. I showed Paul. I said, Paul, look at this really good artist. You should look at her. And then he liked her, and he went out and bought a couple pieces from her, and now she's, I guess, I don't know, I think she's on her own. And I'm a fan. And she does, like, a lot of her stuff she's got that Precious Moments kind of look to it. She does a lot of female characters, and it's all really cute and nice. But I got a funny story, and I think he's still here. I saw his name. I don't know if he's still this Maki Poo Poo. I met him for the first time a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
And and he was we did a deal, and we were going to meet in Manhattan to do the deal. And I said, I'm thinking, I got to meet him. We had an arranged spot, and I've never seen him before. And when I get to the spot, I see a guy standing there with an OAX bag. And I think this is the guy. And I said, were you at OAX last week? And he's like, yeah. And I said, oh, we were there. And I said, did you pick up anything? And he's like, oh, I got a Chrissy Zulo. I said, oh, I love Chrissy Zulo too. See, that's the fun part of the hobby, because you have that immediate connection. Obviously, he's buying something from me, so we have a similar like right there. And he mentions an artist who's, not that well known, and we both had a like for her, and he bought a piece. And when he told me what it was, I said, oh my God, you're lucky you got that before me, because I would have bought that. And he says, well, you can't have it because it's on my daughter's wall now, but we're going to talk about that. And I'm going to see if I can pull that away from you one day. So that was cool. Like, there he is standing with the OAX bag. So
that's yeah. It kind of stands out after you see it. That's funny, but this is beautiful though. I really do like Christie's work.
And Paul's wanted this. I keep telling him no. It's one of the few things. I wish I would have said no on some of the other things I sold him. I had a whole bunch of Bagley Amazing Spider-Man covers. I sold him for, at the time, he paid fair, but now I'm kicking myself. I wish I would have said no on those, but I'm saying no on this. This is mine.
I do not blame you. She did a very nice job on our auction poster this year as well. Yeah, that's gorgeous. That's really nice.
I think we got one more or two more.
I think
I know what you're leaving for last. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, all that was Pat Olive. I think it was a Marvel team up. I looked at it. I bought this from Glenn Brunswick, and he had it on his site. And I looked at it. I'm looking to pick up something, and I looked at the published image, and this is so much. I mean, they're all nicer. I mean, isn't art always nicer than the published image? But this is a lot nicer. You look at it, the published image is all cropped. You're missing like the top one or two and the bottom two rows of heads. They're all gone. And there's so much more art. I thought it was just so unique for what it was. And I said, that's cool. I said, I want to see if I can, we did a deal, and and here it is.
Yeah, that's I mean, just I think it's a great image. It's so cool, the idea
And you say like this took a lot of work. Sometimes you look at a cover and you say it doesn't look like it
Is
took
it
that
Al Williamson
long.
inks? Is that what it was? Like,
I
oh yeah,
believe so.
yep.
Williamson.
Wow, yep.
And he said this he spent a lot of time on this. At least
That's
it looks like
gorgeous.
it to my naked eye, my
Right.
untrained eye.
No, that's a good one. Well, it's cool. It's like, you're in the market for something and you stumble on something that just, it fits the bill, right? I mean,
Yeah, like it doesn't like you've seen everything I have that's not really in that wouldn't it's
mhm.
not similar to what I have. But like I said, I saw it. I said that's kind of cool, and I grabbed it.
And a lot of characters on it too.
Yeah.
And a lot of jaw lines here that we don't know who they belong to, but there's even more that you can't see in this piece. All right, we got one more. I think it was
Yeah.
oh, it's an Avengers cover. That's right.
No, there's actually this should be another one too, but
Let's see.
the
Did I?
gen we didn't do the gen.
Oh, I think I left that. Oh, I didn't download that one. I'll get it.
Okay.
It's in your calf, right?
It is.
I'll get it. All right.
This was I like Paul Ryan. He did a lot of nice work during this time. He did Avengers covers, did a lot of FF covers, and I got this from Paul also. But I didn't own this, and to have an Avengers cover and Iron Man centric, and you got Cap down there. I said, "Oh, that's good." I said, "I want that," and I have that on the wall. That might not be long for the wall. I've got a few other things I want to maybe put up there instead, like my new McFarlane. But for now, I'll leave it.
Yeah, Paul Ryan's one of those artists that I love their work, and I've never owned anything by them. And either it's just haven't seen the right page, or it's not been at the right price. But he's somebody who has forever been on my list. I need an example from, just because they were so prolific. Their work is beautiful. There should be more of it out there, But I've always loved Paul's stuff.
And when I look at it, as I do with so many covers, it's like the stats hit me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have to have those stats. That's one thing I don't love about some of the more modern art. They don't have it because even though it's stat and it's not artwork, it's like, it's just, I don't know. It just hits me. I love having the stats on the covers. You know what it is, and you're just reading it. There it is. There's the Avengers.
No, I mean, I don't blame you. I mean, a lot of guys when they get new interiors, they actually do the acetate overlays and have somebody put the word balloons on there because they want the story. And I don't blame them. I mean,
I don't blame them. I get it.
The books are all about story. You lose something when it's not there. Damn digital. See, we had to go modern, man. That's the problem there. Now I do I'll have to drop this window out and then drop a second window in so I can pull the Gen 13 piece in here. Let me swing this one over to that screen. Too many clicks here. There we go.
I guess that's the last piece we've got for the evening.
That is the last one. A J. Scott Campbell. Yeah, that's a good one, Dan.
Yeah, that's the second oldest piece I've had in my collection. I've had that since like 2009. So what is that, 16, 17 years?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's his most recognizable work. I know he's done some really great stuff for Amazing, but this is where he made his bones, on the Gen 13. And then when you think of the run, this is the cover you think of. You can make a case for the limited series #1, but this is the cover he's knocked off 100 times. He does a lot of these, central figure in the middle, flanked by the 4 characters on the side. This was on the wall ever since I moved to where I live now. It was up there for like 12 years. I just recently took it down just to mix it up a little bit. And I remember seeing it at a show for like $5,000, like I said, 2008, whatever, $5,000 the guy had it. And that was, again, a lot of money. And I wasn't there, necessarily looking to buy art. And I didn't buy it. And I got home, I was like, oh God, I don't know why I didn't buy that. A couple weeks later, or whatever, a short time thereafter, it shows up on CAF. Someone has it, and I'm like, hey, you want to do a deal? And I gave him some money and another page, so I ended up getting into it for like $6,700, something like that. And I was like, oh, I'm an idiot. I could have had this for $5,000. Now I'm into it for $6,700, a couple months later.
Well,
and then,
did it teach you anything?
You never learn, you know.
No,
We
you
never
can't,
learn.
right? I
You
mean,
win some, you lose some. But the funny story was a guy reached out to me like right after I posted, begging me to sell it. He's like, "Oh, I gotta have it. I gotta have it." He offered me like almost 3 times what I paid. And I said, and I don't know why, because I sell everything. Usually I take the fast nickel. But for whatever reason, I said, I want to hold on to it. But he's like, you have to sell it to me. I said, why do I have to sell it to you? He says, I love that image. I said, I love that image too. And he says, yeah, but he says, I have that tattooed on my leg. And he sent me a picture of Fairchild tattooed on his leg. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I get it. Maybe you like it a little bit more. I'm still not selling it, but you got the tattoo. I'm keeping the art. And I've held it for all this time.
wow.
And again, it goes like in my mind, I'm thinking image, it's going to pop, Campbell's definitive piece, certainly an image, and it just checked all the boxes. And there it is. And I've had other ones too, and I wish I would have held on to them, but at least I kept this one. That like this and the 252 were the two pieces that I managed to say no to.
So this is Garner Inks. Okay, I
Yeah.
was just going to answer Rice Art's question there. Yeah, I mean that's dedication to have them put that tattoo on them. But
Yeah, listen, he's hardcore if you put that on your leg.
right, I can see why they would, go that to
And
the
you know what? He
distance.
made a really great offer. I didn't turn it down because it wasn't enough. I just didn't want to sell it. Yeah, that's all it was. And he could have went high. I mean, I guess if he would have kept going higher, I might have folded, but I
Right.
didn't
I
want
mean,
to
that
didn't want to
happens
move it.
sometimes. Yeah. I mean, I had a guy, I mean, certainly not at this level, but asking me about a piece of art and and I said, oh, it's, they were asking like what the value was. They weren't asking to buy it. And I said, well, it's probably worth like, say $3,500. I'm like, but I wouldn't even sell it for 10 because I can't replace it.
Right.
So, I mean, because I bought this page like 21 years ago, and this guy's stuff it's so hard to get the good stuff anymore. So, and my page is only average. So I literally feel it's only worth $3,500, but I would never wouldn't sell it for 10.
Right,
It's just,
right. Friends I have in the hobby, they'll always be like, well, what do you want on this? And I said, and I'll give them like numbers. Oh, you're crazy. I said, I'm not crazy. It's not for sale. I mean, the stuff that I have for sale is in the for sale gallery, and there's a price on it. And that, if you're going to put a price on it, you're going to be in the ballpark, or you're not going to sell it. But the other stuff, it's just not. So if you want it more, prove it.
right. Well, there you go. Yeah, so Dan, everybody, but there's a lot of people that would like this piece, but
And you know what? I almost forgot. This has got to be one of the most impression pieces on the site for pen and ink. I got a lot of hits on this.
Oh yeah, you're pushing 28,000.
That's a lot.
That is
I like
a lot.
to tell Tom, I say, my piece has got more hits than any of yours.
Yeah, I wonder, where that sits, in terms of Campbell's work. I have no idea. One of the things we don't do a lot of, but it'd be fun to do some stats. I mean, when you have, we have over 1.2 million pieces of art on here. It's just to kind of like look by artist on, what most views, and then by artist by cover, by interior.
What Tom had mentioned that when he did his interview with you, and I looked it up because you said there's a way to do it, and I clicked around, and I was surprised at how many pieces that were more than this, because I had only seen one. It was like a Dave McKean painting, and I said, okay, but I was surprised at how many pieces were and how many you wouldn't think would be the one. Like you would think it would be the first Wolverine or a great McFarlane, but it wasn't. It was a lot of like some pinup stuff, some just stuff that's just not in my wheelhouse. So when it's not in your wheelhouse, you think, well, nobody likes it, but there's somebody, and there was some of these things have monster amounts of hit, but not a lot of stuff like for the pen and ink kind of stuff. It was a lot of paintings and commission work, but yeah, if you had it like you had that broken down, that'd be fun to see.
Yeah, well, by Campbell, it's number 4 on the website.
Really, it's more than that.
But yours is as far as published work, it's number 1.
Well, that's it. That's as long as I'm number 1 in something, Bill.
Yeah, because you can order site searches by views or comments or or stuff like that. Where is it? Here it is.
So the other 3 were what? Just commissions or
yeah, they're just commission style pieces.
What the hell? 86,000? Oh, yeah, it's a nice piece.
But the thing is, a lot of times this stuff gets just ranked high on Google. Somebody might have linked, what I mean? Somebody could have put it on a Reddit page, and then all of a sudden, there are days like when 20,000 visitors and page views come from like Reddit alone, well, where
Right.
somebody puts it in a popular thread. So you just never know. But
Right.
yeah, as far as published work goes, I mean, yeah, you have the market cornered on that. I mean, the next one is this a Star Wars cover, looks like. Um,
That's close.
it's close, but yeah, they got a ways to go. But still, I mean, hey, not too shabby, Dan.
Not too
It-
shabby. I got one that's up there.
Well, congrats on that, man. So, well, this has been fun. So we're gonna get to see each other on Sunday, right?
Yep, I'll be there.
I'm looking forward to that. So I've not seen the new location. I am staying at that hotel though. I figured I'd just make it simple and have like kind of a central place. I'm not renting a car, so I've got a couple people chauffeuring me around. I'm gonna visit the Metropolis offices on Friday when I
Okay.
get in. I'm gonna go straight there so I can see their collection. I'm gonna I've got to stop by Anthony's warehouse, and then a couple people are gonna take me into town to see the Klaus Janson show.
Uh-huh.
I'm looking forward to that, and then Society of Illustrators. I've just never been there. I've always wanted to kind of see the place. I have no idea what they're showing at the moment, but so I'm getting to hit 4 different art related things while I'm there, so it's going to be good.
Yeah, it should be fun. You have a good weekend. You cap it off with the show on Sunday.
Exactly. All right. Well, I appreciate you doing this, and I obviously we had a lot of people watching us this evening, Dan. So
Good.
that's always good to have a nice audience for one of these. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting to see you on Tom Fish. Will he be there? He's
He
always.
will not. I doubt it. If he is, he didn't tell me. I don't think he's going.
That's too bad. I know he was always a big proponent of the show when you guys were getting it started. He would run ads for you on CAF for it, and I always thought that was really really cool that Tom was always trying to promote the hobby when there wasn't any other shows like that.
Yeah, no, he was great, and he showed up to a lot of the early shows. He's just really really busy. He works 25 hours a day, so it's hard for him to do anything.
That is true. I don't think I've talked to him or emailed with him since the time we did the interview. So yeah. All right. Well, cool. I'll see you on Sunday. Everybody in the chat, we appreciate you hanging out with us tonight. We'll be back at it again tomorrow with what do we have tomorrow? An art sale with Anthony Snyder. So he'll be at his warehouse of all places doing an art sale. So we'll do that with him. But Dan, as always, and I'll see you this weekend and hang out for a minute because I got to ask you. I got 2 guesses.
Okay.